Welcome into another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me at TCAV30 on Twitter/X and follow our insider pages at Rams Insider on SI. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of victory cleanup Monday from the Rams 44-42 thrilling win over the Buffalo Bills, snapping the Bills' 7-game win streak, putting the Rams on a 2-game little hot streak here as they will head into Levi's Stadium in San Francisco on Thursday Night Football to play the Niners this coming week. And we'll talk about one player with key accolades, had his best career game of the season, and how the outlook of the NFC West when it comes to seeding will shake out after Week 15 if all goes well. So just to kind of recap what happened yesterday, 44 points from the Rams, their highest point total of the year. I know they gave up 42, but they played the Buffalo Bills, who are one of the best offensive teams in the league. And I think the Rams kind of enter that conversation. I'm not saying they're a juggernaut like the Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Lions, any of those teams. But, they are the best of that middle of the pack when it comes to offensive production. Now, it can be shaky at times. They have seen their fair share of struggles this year against teams, but whenever you put up 44 points, I don't care who it's against, you're doing something right on offense. 5 of 6 in the red zone, scored on 6 of their 9 full possessions in the game. It was just a complete victory for the Rams. They played incredible from start to finish. Defensively, obviously things to clean up, but when your offense does what it did, you got to play a lot of defense, to be honest with you. They did have a couple key 3-and-outs on the Bills that did lead to them being able to separate themselves with the lead. You had the special teams block, punt, scoop, and score, all that stuff to help contribute to the offensive explosion. But I think this team is going to be very dangerous. Earlier today on First Take, Dan Orlovsky of ESPN was talking, and he pretty much summarized saying, this team offensively is probably one of the best in the NFC. And if you're the Lions or the Eagles, you're one of those top seeds, the Vikings, you better watch out if you're playing this team in the playoffs. Now, we don't know if the Rams are making the playoffs yet because they're second in the division and 7-6. But if they do make it, they win the division or pull out some sort of a wild card spot, I'd be very, very scared or paranoid a little bit if I'm any of those top seeds having to face a gritty Rams team that can pop off for 44 points whenever they want. Matthew Stafford's playing his best football right now. Cooper Kupp, just classic doing what he's doing. Puka Nacua, once again, just phenomenal. Kyren Williams is hitting his stride offensively. He's had a couple of nice games in a row. Everything is kind of clicking, and the Rams are going to get back Tyler Higbee either next week against the Niners or the week after against the Jets. So Los Angeles is in a very good spot, and that kind of brings me to my next point here. Before we get into talking about Puka Nacua, who I think is a top 5 receiver in the NFL, we're going to stick with this NFC West division and how things are going to shake out this week. Later on in this week, we're going to talk about NFC West predictions and just kind of how we see the entire division shaken out at the end of this week. But, there are 2 big games. The 2 top teams in the NFC West, they got some primetime matchups, and they're going to play a huge role. So first, Thursday Night Football, it's Rams-Niners. 49ers are really banged up. The Rams are coming off 44 points, riding high, their best game of the season on the offensive side. And the Rams are going to be hungry for a road win. Right now, they're 2-1 in conference play, or in division play, sorry. They can move to 3-1 by getting a win against the banged-up Niners team, but San Fran just dominated the Chicago Bears. Now, neither one of those 2 teams are extremely good, but 49ers finally got back on track after losing back-to-back games brutally to the Packers and to the Bills. But you see it. If you look at the head-to-head matchup between the Rams-Bills and then Niners-Bills, Buffalo beat San Francisco 35-10, and the Rams a week after beat them by 2, scoring 44. So that's just a little tail of the tape when you look at it for that game next week. If the Rams win on the road against the Niners, that will put them at 8-6 on the year. Now the Seattle Seahawks, who are in first place at 8-5, they're going to be home against the Green Bay Packers team that is seething at the moment. They lost a very frustrating game at the last second on a field goal to the Detroit Lions last Thursday night. And they're going to be in a get-right spot. They're going to want to bounce back and just dominate their opponent. We talked about the Packers going out and bullying the 49ers at home. And they want to do the same thing here to the Seahawks. Now, let's say the Packers do win that game and they go on the road and they beat the Seahawks. Seattle's won 4 in a row. They're due for a flat performance, all that. That would put Seattle at 8-6. The Rams would be 8-6. Both teams right there tied for first place in the division with 3 games left in the season. And you got to remember that the Seahawks still have to play the Minnesota Vikings, who are 11-2. They play the Chicago Bears, and then the final game of the year, Week 18, is against the Rams. So there's a very, very good chance that this season, what hangs in the balance for playoff time, will go into Week 18, and the Rams-Seahawks game will have major implications, not only for a playoff spot, but for who wins the division. So right now, wishful thinking. Obviously, we're going to do predictions later in the week. I think Rams get a win over the Niners, and the Seahawks fall, both teams at 8-6, tied for first. Now we're going to move on, talk about Puka Nacua. Personally, I think this can be argued across major publications, ESPN, Fox News, whatever it may be, Sports Illustrated. Puka Nacua is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. This is a guy in his second season. He's only a year and a half in. He's only played in 8 games this year dealing with the knee injury, and he's just lighting up the charts. I mean, the impact that he had last year to this year as well. I mean, the guy's had 12 games of over 100 receiving yards in 25 games. That's nearly half the games that he plays. He posts triple digits, which it's sickening. That does not happen for a guy that's just in his second year as a young player in the NFL. After the performance from Puka, where he went 162 yards, 12 catches, had a receiving and a rushing touchdown. It was his first rushing touchdown of his career. Puka enters as the second player in NFL history to record over 150 receptions, over 2,000 yards, and over 7 receiving touchdowns in his first 25 career games. Just putting those numbers together, you just see the immediate impact that he has on this team and his ability to affect everybody around him. Because you put a guy like Puka out there on the outside, that's going to leave Colby Parkinson, Demarcus Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, all these guys open because defenses, they got to scheme it up and put their number one guy on Puka. I mean, if you watched any of the game yesterday, it was almost every single drive. The guy was making an incredible catch, highlight reel play every single time, getting a 20-yard gain here and there. And not to mention, Nacua's one receiving touchdown of the game came in the final minutes. Rams were up by 3. Bills were mounting a comeback late. Bills were down 17. They scored back-to-back touchdowns to make it a 3-point game. And Rams went right down the field, and Nacua was found for a 19-yard touchdown score to really put the game out of reach with not much time left. And that was the difference, the game winner. Just, you can't say enough about what he is able to do for this team. Head coach Sean McVay spoke post-game and called him an igniter. He said that's one of the biggest compliments that McVay can give anybody, and just talked about how he's obviously impacting the play on the field and a winning mentality and an outcome, but also the players around him, bringing up that energy. Nacua never has a frown on his face. He's always smiling, looking for that next play. Very short memory, and it's going to be really fun to see how this kid grows over the next several years. The Rams have him through 2026, but when they reach 27, Puka's going to be a free agent. I would expect them to fork over some big money to keep Puka in Los Angeles, because this is a 1 in a million talent when you grab this guy in the 5th round. Not many players from a 5th, 6th round, 7th round area right there are ones that, thrive in their first 25 games like he is. It's really something special, and the Rams are lucky to have him. And I truly think he's up there with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. If I had to break down a top 5, I'd say that's my 4, and then Puka's in there at the 5th. This has been the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast. Glad everybody could join us today. We're going to have more for you all week, talking injury reports from both sides, the Niners and the Rams, as we get set for a Thursday night bout between the Rams and Niners. 7-6 are Los Angeles coming off a win, and the Niners at 6-7 also coming off a win. Let's see who can come out on TNF. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you next time.